Hello everyone, welcome back to the workshop. Today I'm going to be bringing you another book related series here. I went over my top 5 books recently that I like in blacksmithing that are sitting on my shelf and in my library. I call it a library, it's really just a shelf with umpteen books on it. Not a full, let's go to the study. It's not like that. So I brought you my top 5 picks of blacksmithing books to read. And now I'm going to bring you, it's not really a top 5, I've got quite a bit more books than that. But I'm going to bring you some top books, in my opinion, that will really help out the beginning blacksmith. So if you're just getting started, these are some books that I would highly recommend you to read. Once again, they will help you with technical jargon and things like that maybe you're not associated with or you're not familiar with, and give you some different viewpoints to take a look at if you like reading books. So the first one I'm going to do, and this is actually just a bonus material, but it does have a book. You can get these at your library or you can buy them online. We'll put the links in the description to all these books. Again, we'll put all the links in the descriptions for these. But it's Randy McDaniel's Blacksmithing Primer. Now, this is actually one of the very first videos I ever watched on blacksmithing. And it really propelled me to want to take and get into the craft. And I have probably watched, I forget how long this video is. It doesn't say here. I have probably watched this thing. I mean, I had the flu and I just watched this thing on a continual loop, during the whole time I had the flu once. And I mean, not this particular video, obviously, but a lot. I've watched this video a lot. I could practically recite it verbatim, and it was very instrumental in helping shape me into wanting to pursue the craft a lot further and look at the craft in different ways. So this comes with an accompanying book, like a workbook, and this is like the workbook is the book, and then this is like the accompanying video. Now, I've never had the workbook, so I can't talk about that. I'll put a link to it in the description anyhow. I've seen it. It looks like it's a very good book. Definitely worth the read and the watch. If you got a library and you can get this in, this would be the thing to watch, in my opinion, if you're just starting out. So now that's the bonus material. That's not a book in and of itself. The next book that I actually got whenever I first started blacksmithing was this one by Charles McRaven, The Blacksmith's Craft. And once again, this is from the library. Now I do own this book. It's on my own personal shelf in my own personal library, but I went ahead and my wife picked it up anyhow. She forgot that I had this book on my shelf. And in this book, it really goes over kind of the simple way of doing things in blacksmithing. None of the techniques are all that advanced, and they're really just a good basic knowledge of blacksmithing. And that's who he marketed towards, is kind of like that country smith. Maybe you need to repair some of your stuff or tools, things of that nature. Maybe you're just getting into it. It does some very basic hardening and tempering. It goes over that very basically. And it gets you a good start, good foundation. Obviously, you can get as technical as you'd like about it, but this really keeps it practical it really does. It says, discover the practical simplicity of blacksmithing. And that pretty much sums up the book. So that's a great start, especially for guys who don't have a lot of tooling, as this guy does not use a lot of tooling in this video. It's usually just hand hammers, files, and, hand crank stuff. So definitely a good read here. Next thing I went with was, my wife actually got me this, and this is 24 Blacksmithing Projects by Percy Blandford. It's got a lot of stuff in it, like just simple ornamental things that you can do, plant hangers, thumb latches, lamp brackets, hooks, fireplace smithing stuff, things like that. Those are great little projects. They're not using real heavy, thick materials, not a lot of really heavy forging, but it kind of helps explain kind of a step-by-step process of how to do a couple different things. So, if you want to make a plant hanger, it kind of gives you some of the simple principles and bases to where you can build your own plant hanger. I have not went through the book myself. When my wife got me this book, I had already been doing blacksmithing for several years, and so therefore I didn't really get into any of the stuff that was in this book. I didn't have to. I had already forged most of this stuff that was in this book before. So, but it can be a very good thing. It just kind of gives you a little pep talk like, oh, I don't know what I'm going to do today. You can try something out of this book. Next one here is also by Percy W. Blandford. It is a practical blacksmithing and metalworking. It's the second edition. So this is a much larger, obviously thicker book. You can take this goes over more techniques. So it kind of has a lot of the same illustrations as before, but it's focusing more on the techniques of blacksmithing than an actual project step-by-step basis. So this can be a good accompaniment to the other book. So we'll go ahead and do it to this last one here. The last one that I'll recommend, which I find is a very good one for beginners, just because this is more of a modern book. All these were written back in the early 80s, all late 70s. All these books were, and some of them into the 90s, but most of them a lot earlier books, 70s and 80s. So this book is more modern than that, and so therefore it has really good color examples. And this is by Lorelei Sims, I believe how you pronounce her name. But it has really great, and once again, this is a copyrighted book, so I'm not going to show you too much, but I want to I can't show you too much. I just wanted to show you one page here, but you can see everything's in color, and it's a step-by-step process. And she goes a little bit at the beginning as kind of starting your basic forge setup, stuff like that, and then she moves into the actual projects itself. So when she goes into those type details, goes into those type projects and stuff, she does it all in full color. And I find everything she put in this book is very easily managed for a beginner. Very easily managed for a beginner. Now, she does use some power equipment and talks about that in a little bit here and there, but it easily obtainable just with a hammer and anvil for sure. So the Backyard Blacksmith is definitely a recommended read for you guys, just starting out. And I would definitely recommend that. And I think I'll go with the last book. I'll go ahead. I brought it out here. This is an Aldrin A. Watson. Now, I've briefly read this book. I didn't read it front to back once again. But from what I've read, the information that I've seen is mostly true or has been true. But it's got some really good illustrations about punching and how that works. And once again, this is a technique book. This is more of a technique book that shows you how to build a hearth, like a forge, like a stone forge and chimney, and it shows bellows, how to build bellows, and some other really useful information. So one thing I want to encourage people to do with your education in blacksmithing is branch out beyond YouTube. YouTube is a great place to learn. I love teaching on YouTube, but there's also so much good information that you just can't put on YouTube for the time constraints and the amount of trolls that are online and stuff like that. It just branch out into looking at books. A lot of books, people can put as much information or as little information as they want into that. And a lot of books, most of these books are very thick books, like The Art of Blacksmithing. I mean, the book's this thick, and that was in my other video. And it takes a long time to read it, but it's definitely worth it, because when you get engrossed in a book, it triggers something else in your mind, and some of that stuff can stick with you. Now, there's a lot of people who aren't really book people, and that's okay, more visual or tactile learners. That's kind of how I am, but I still found all these books helpful at shaping me into the smith that I am today. So thank you all for watching this video. Let me know in the comment section whether you got any of these books, or what books that you like the most. Maybe there's some books out there that I have not heard of or read yet, And yeah, which I guarantee you there is. There's a bunch out there on blacksmithing. Yeah, just put your books in the description that you like as your recommended reads. Maybe we can help each other out in the blacksmithing community. Just become more knowledgeable about the craft that we all love. So thank you all for watching. God bless you, and we'll catch you on the next one.